What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Definitely Not Mechanics. I've already started working and almost cut my finger off. So today I'm going to show you how to install coilovers on 2nd gen Honda Odyssey. So as you can see, I've already got coilovers, but all the footage of me installing these was lost and I have to change them up a little bit anyway. So I'll show you how to take them off and then I'll show you how to put them back on. You're going to start by loosening the ones up top. You want to get those pretty loose, but still threaded on to hold this. You just want a little play there. So you'll find a little slot in these. You just take a flathead, pop it in there, and turn it. That's what I do. If you can't find a slot, just make one. They come out pretty easy. Keep them, because they look nice. You don't want to lose that kind of thing. 15, I assume. Yep. Those were pretty loose because Zach put them on. So you just want to get them to where they're kind of hand loose. And if you put your light in the right position, you can see through this grate to see what you're doing in there. And that's always helpful. So this is going to be a 12 millimeter. Now I'm going to cut off the zip tie. It's holding mine on. You are not going to have a zip tie on your ABS wire. This is going to be on the back of the strut here, and it is going to be adjacent of the little tab. Like this one right here is going to be a 19 or a 3/4. They're kind of interchangeable, plus or minus a few millimeters. So I'm just going to put the gun on there. So just push that out off to the side. If you need to switch out your sway bar links, if they're bad, I suggest switching them out now. Next up, we're gonna run these off of here. And these are 7/8. In a pinch, you can use a 22 to hold the other side. Now, if you are using an impact, these are gonna come off pretty simple. But if you do not have a strong enough impact to get them off, you're gonna have to fight with them a little bit with a 7/8. Okay, luckily these were not as tight as the other sides. Got that broken loose there. Do the bottom one. So, whoops. So you can see this is loose enough that I could hold this other side with my hands. I don't suggest doing that. So the next one, I'm gonna use the wrench on. Try to be careful and pay attention to what you're doing. You definitely don't want to hurt yourself while you're doing this, because then your car's stuck pulled apart and your wife's got to yell at you and, you know, take you to the hospital. That would suck. So now the top one wasn't holding any pressure. You can see I could slide that one out just fine, but the bottom one is holding all the pressure. So I'm going to lift up with my knees and wiggle that through. Sometimes you gotta wiggle. If you're from up north, you gotta spray them down and hammer them out. Now, if you have a buddy to do this with you, suggest having them up top. They can be unscrewing these top bolts, and you know, you can let it down here. If not, I'm gonna show you how to do it that way as well. I've got my ratchet here. Since I've got these loose enough that I don't have to break them free, I'm just gonna take the extension, and I'm gonna get the one that's hardest to get to. Got that one. Got one more left. Now, this one is going to be the important one. I'm going to have to hold this guy up, and I've just got my knee propped here against my elbow, because your hand is going to get tired. Your arm is going to get tired doing this. Oh, pull the light down. That's how you get it out. Now, I've got my nut trapped under my socket in here. I'm just going to stick this little guy up in there, snake it out. Boom. There you go. Now you are going to be reusing the factory nuts in some situations, so make sure you keep those, clean them if you need to, or buy replacements if you need to. But essentially what you should be looking at is something like this now. This guy is heavy, so I definitely suggest having a friend with you while you're taking it out. On the TruHart Coilovers, this is going to be your adjustment for preload right here. don't mess with this. Leave it how it is from the factory unless you know what you're doing. This right here is going to be your adjustment for height, and this is going to be your adjustable sway bar link. Now, with how low I have these set, I can't put the adjustable sway bar links all the way, or the adjustable sway bar link bracket all the way at the bottom, then I won't be able to tighten it. So what I'm actually doing right now is flipping this. I'll loosen this guy up here. Okay, so what I've done is put a pry bar through here. That way it won't have the need to go the opposite way. Stand on this side. Turn it. Oh, there you go. Probably gonna pop loose. There you go. So we're gonna unscrew this guy off of here, followed by our lock washer. And then we're gonna loosen this little Allen head right here. Use whatever tools you got for this. I just loosen that up. And now we can turn this guy off of here. That way we can flip it over and have the sway bar in a more natural and lower position. Okay, now that we've got it off, we're gonna flip it like this with the bolt facing the top and thread it back on. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Back on with your lock ring. And then back on with this fella. So if you already know your measurement, great. Do your measurement, set them how you want. But what I suggest is getting them pretty close, getting that lock ring kind of hand tight on there, and then installing it from there. You can adjust accordingly. You do coilovers, you're never gonna know right off the bat which size you need or what height you need. So you want to adjust and adjust and adjust until you get it where it's perfect and comfortable for you. Okay, so this is the part where having two people kicks ass. I'm gonna have a companion of mine on top running these in, and I'm just gonna hold this up there because I don't have to do it by myself. If you do, I suggest one thing. You can attach it down here with these bolts, and then you can kind of guide it and jack up that lower control arm in there. That's how I've done it plenty of times in the past. Just try it this way. There we go. I'm just gonna hold it up. Yep. So that's started, that's holding that. Jump back up here. So these are a little bit, whoops, okay. So I would suggest using a magnet, snaking it in there, and you can kind of, whoops, if you don't stick to anything, kind of hold it on something. There we go. Here. So we're on this very back one here. Our magnet's holding it on. Snake that in, take it from the magnet, thread it on down. And from here, you're just gonna put everything back together. First thing I wanna do is attach this piece here. That way we've got some rigidity. Now if you've got a jack to put on here, you can do that. I just lift it up, it's not that heavy. You only have to hold it in there for a second. So I think it's supposed to be nuts on the back side. Whoops. So I kind of lift it up higher than I need it, and then slowly let it down and just wiggle that bolt till it comes in. Now this one, you will still have to lift it a little bit, unless you started with the bottom one, but whoops. You will have to move it in and out. Done. Like nuts. Right here. Now I'm going to leave these loose for right now because I still have some more adjustments, but I do want to get this bolted back up here. Now you want to be very careful when you're tightening this because you can't break a little weldy weld. That's not good. So I've got a tape measure here. On the other side, I measured from the bottom of this washer on top of this. So I just stuck it right up in there and down into the top of this ring. Mine's gonna be to the top of this ring right here. Mine's gonna be 5 13/16. So I need to set that up right now, and I'll show you how to adjust these with it put together on the car. Obviously, you can turn this guy. You want your lock off, and then you can just turn this whole one. If you turn it towards the back, same way I'm going, it's gonna go down. Now, if it is getting hard to turn, by all means, grab your spanner and you can just turn this guy. And that'll turn the whole thing. Perfect. Matches up great. Now I want to lock this guy down, and I just put it on there, give it a couple bumps, and then a tug. Should be good. You definitely want to make sure that this is snug. Perfect. That's exactly where I had it on the other side. Now we're going to tighten this guy down. Cool. Got that tight. Now you're going to take this guy and reattach him. And sometimes you may find that this is not situated. You just put a pry bar up on it, and you can kind of do the wiggle dance. Get our nuts started. Go slow first. Make sure this one's good and tight. Okay, so make sure your top 3 bolts are torqued down. Make sure these 2 are torqued. This guy and this guy. And then I've got this ABS wire zip tied here. I know previously I had it zip tied on this, but I think this is a safer solution for that. So now we've got the back jacked up. I've got the springs already in here. I'm gonna show you how to take this out. I'm gonna show you the way the pieces look before they come out, so that way you guys have an idea of what you're gonna be working with. So I've got the TruHart Coilovers, and I also bought the TruHart CAMBER arms. These are adjustable. Loosen those nuts and you can move that to give you more or less camber, more than what the adjustability on the cam bolts and stuff will do. This is what the factory one looks like, non-adjustable. It's very easy to get off. You're gonna separate it down here, pull this guy off, pull a bolt out of there. You'll want to take the shock off first, bolt up there, bolt down there. And once you take this upper arm off, you'll be able to get the spring out. Now your spring is gonna look like this guy, and your shock is gonna look like this guy. Shock's pretty easy to get out. The spring, it's gonna take some prying, I'll tell you. You're gonna have to get somebody to push down this real hard, or get a pry bar in a convenient location and really get it pushed down to get this out of here. Otherwise, you'll have to take off the back bolt or the front ball joint. I opted not to pull either of them off, so it's gonna be a lot easier. And I'll show you guys how to pull all that apart right now. This one's gonna be a 17. I'm gonna go ahead and pop it off with this first, just to get it loosened. And then this guy. There's not really gonna be any tension on it because you're gonna be all the way down. There we go. And this is the pointed one. Be sure to notate that that is the pointed one. So now I'm gonna pull this guy out of the way. I'm gonna hold him right there. And then I can get this back here. This is gonna be 17 as well. All right. Now, if you're using power tools, you can definitely put a swivel on here. And this guy. Okay, now I'm gonna do the same as I did on the front. I'm gonna put my legs up under here lift up on this to take the pressure off. Pull this bolt the rest of the way out here. Alright, so this is the part I was referring to about having somebody to pry this down for you. So you can put a pry bar under this body mount edge right here and pry it down pretty far, but you want to get it extremely far down to get the spring out. This one's going to come out a lot easier than yours is, but just be patient and be careful. This foot right up here, push this down. Oh, I took it out the wrong way. There we go. You're good. This is cool, you can always bend that back out, not a problem. You want to bring it out this way and down. You'll want to twist it some to get it over some of the humps, but you should be all right. Like I said, there's a big difference between those, so it's going to be hard to get this one out. Just take your time and be careful. That shit's mucho dangerous. This guy right here, this bump stop, pull that out to 14 millimeter. I pulled them out because I thought I was going to be too low. Turns out I was not, so I'm going to cut them in half right here. And this is all rubber. I would suggest using like a Sawzall, putting this in a vise. Sawzall to cut through that because it's thick, dense rubber. I don't have a Sawzall right now, so I'm going to show you a different way that I'm going to do it.
And it looks a lot cooler. This rubber's not rated for this speed.
Dude, that's like a Z-rated mock Jesus.
Fast, boy, I'll tell you.
There we go. And then this threads in the same way it comes out. You just run it right up into those threads. So I did notice that this, even at its lowest setting, wasn't quite low enough for my liking. So what I'm gonna do is take both of these collars off. I gotta unlock them first, but I thought I just had them.
Where's the other one?
There we go. And be careful, because these guys are kind of sharp and they will cut your fingers because they're CNC cut aluminum and the threads are kind of dirty on this. So I'm gonna clean this up and get these off here and then show you guys what I'm working with from there. Okay, so normally this is at the bottom of your spring perch. Obviously mine's destroyed, I can't reuse it. And this is at the top. So I'm gonna take this and put it on top of this. And this is gonna be my perch. I've already taken those collars off of there so it can sit lower. But I am concerned that it may damage the threads riding against it. And I want the option to be able to put these back on there and adjust it later. So I'm gonna run some Gorilla Tape on there just to kind of soften it up. And then there is another lock ring that goes, or another ring that goes on here to protect this and to let the spring pivot and the spring slides right over that. And I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done here. Okay, so this is the washer I was talking about. Keep that, you know, free and loose. This is rubbed down to here in Gorilla Tape. That's never coming off or rattling. And then this guy is gonna go on top. So I'm just gonna set this upside down in here so I can show you the craft work here. Now this is because I didn't have that other sleeve on the bottom. This one right here, it's plastic and it's destroyed, and you cannot buy these. I looked everywhere, I even looked for universals, but I just couldn't be sure on fitment. So this is actually gonna work great. I had a garden hose that was already broken, had a hole in it, and I just cut a slit down it, slid it on here, and then zip tied it. You could tape it on. You could use fuel line hose. I use this because it's what I had, and no one's ever gonna see it. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in real quick. This is gonna be super quick to get this back together. The back is dumb easy on here. All right, so now we're going back together. Got my helper to push down on this. We're gonna snake this over. Oh, a little more. Push, okay. Now it helps to rotate it, and remember there's a little stopper in here. You want to get it up against there. Now release, and that's going to hold itself in there, and that's going to rattle a lot less than it did before. That is certainly for sure. A little more. Oh shit. There you go. Perfect. And then I'm sure you guys can figure out how to do the bottom by yourselves. You don't need my help for that, so I'm not even going to show you. Don't put your finger in there while you're jacking it up, because you can pinch your finger, and that's not just like a ow that hurt, that's like a ow I'm missing the rest of my finger. Definitely want to make sure the bottom's tight, and make sure you get your cotter pin under that guy right there. But that's it. This is all back together. If you bent this at all with your legs on the bottom or whatever, check that. Make sure it's got even spacing all the way around, or else it'll rub and make really awful noises. Sheesh. That's it right there. She's pretty close to level. It's just a hair higher in the back, but that's fine because I use this van like a pickup truck, and it's gonna be able to hold the weight of grown people in the back or camping gear or whatever, and not sag too much to where it's bottomed out. Whereas if we would have started with something that matched that height, then whenever we put stuff back there, it'd be able to sag till it rubs. Now, we do have a little bit of poke. This can be adjusted with the alignment, so that's not that big of a deal. And honestly, that's about where I wanted it anyways. I'd like to roll the fenders that way, in case I do hit, you know, a big bump or whatever, it's not gonna tear up the fender or tear up the tire. This one kind of rubs a little bit, and my alignment's not done yet, but you can see that that one pokes, whereas that one tucks a little more. So this one doesn't rub. Again, I've still got to align it and roll the fenders, but overall I think it looks great. This is a pretty easy install. If you guys have worked on cars before, I definitely suggest trying this one yourself. If there's anything in the video where you're like, oh wait, I don't know how to do that, don't try it. Just take it to somebody. I'm sure it's not gonna be that expensive. Safety is way more important than trying to save a couple of dollars and get it done yourself. This is the TruHart Coilover system. I believe they only have one coilover system for the 2nd gen, and these are the TruHart camber arms in the rear. And I'm gonna have links and everything in the description of this video. That way you guys can get to this yourself. So that's gonna close up the video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys didn't learn anything from the video, I suggest watching it again, because there's some really good information in there. And I hope this helps somebody get a little bit closer to bringing their van down to the ground. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm very quick about replying to that stuff. I'll make sure that I have the right answer before I send you an answer. So give me a shout. I'll help you out with anything that you need. You can send us a personal message on Facebook or something like that. Anything regarding any of the videos that we do, I'm very quick about replying. If you haven't already, check out the merch store. It's definitely-not-mechanics.com. You can get a lot of cool stuff on there. You can get shirts, hats, stickers, things of the nature. We're about to release some new stuff on there here in a couple of weeks, and we will keep you updated on when that drops. Thanks. Have a great day.